Hey everyone, Brendan Snyder here. How are you? Thank you so much for joining me and welcome to another episode of New Music Finds. So this is where I like to collect together everything that I've purchased over the past week and present it to you. And I get it from different places like my local record store, but also online retail like Amazon, eBay, and more. For this past week, I got some really cool things here. I got some CDs, some records, a box set. I've even got some last minute record store day stuff that hadn't sold out. So we're going to jump into all that and I'll run through it for you guys here. But before we get started, if you're new to my channel and you haven't already hit the subscribe button, please do. Also leave a comment, hit like, all those things help support my channel. I would greatly appreciate it, of course. As an added bonus, if you turn on notifications, you're going to stay up to date on really cool episodes like this with new music finds. So as I always do, I like to start with new releases here, but we're going to jump back a week to April 21st, the day before Record Store Day. But this one still ties into Record Store Day. So Eddie Money, the covers. Now this was released as an LP on Record Store Day, which I was intrigued by. And when I looked up to find out about it, I found out there was a CD edition that had come out the day before. And you know me and CDs, I'd rather have a CD edition. So I ordered it, just didn't get to me in time for last week. So I'm talking to you about it now. There's the back side of it. It's got a lot of cool covers, 10 tracks on here, recorded in 2008 and actually released as 2 separate EPs digitally and then gathered up. And I don't know if they ever put an album out back then or not. The copyright on this is 2009. And maybe that's just because of the streaming time frame of it. But I do believe this is the first time that it's gotten a CD release, and so he covers songs by newer artists like Train. He does, of course, older classic artists like the Beatles, and we got a lot of other artists in between on here. Very well done. I like the tunes. You know, just hearing Eddie Money's vocals is always a pleasure to me. So quality of it's pretty good. I'm happy with it and would recommend it to you if you are an Eddie Money fan. Now, we'll jump to just this past Friday here, which is April 28th, and we got this. Whitesnake, Still Good to Be Bad, Deluxe Edition, box set treatment, beautiful 4 CD, 1 Blu-ray, so 5 disc collection here. I like that they titled it Still Good to Be Bad, separating it apart a little bit from the original release. Unfortunately though, the original one came out in 2008. This is only 15 years on, so doing a 15-year anniversary, a little too soon in my opinion, but I like the way David Coverdale has been revisiting his past catalog and so forth. And this was an album that I always liked, but I didn't so much care for the production on it. And with this new 2023 remix that's included in here, I really think that it finally sounds the way it's supposed to sound in here. There's a lot of cool other things in here. You got some demo tracks and stuff called Evolutions that goes through the sort of making of the song. So you start with kind of the rough demo, you get into more of the band demo to the finished track, and it's a nice way that they do that there. But the thing that I like about in here the most is one that's just simply called Alternative Remixes and Versions. And they've added in background vocalist, female background vocalist called the Hook City Harlots on it. And it's really interesting to hear those versions of tracks that are very different. And so you get the remix, you get a remaster, you get these alternate versions, you get Evolutions, which is the demos, and then you get a Blu-ray in here with music videos and interviews and stuff like that. So all in all, a very cool box set. I have done a full review of this and I will leave a link in the description for it if you want to check out more on that. There were 2 CD and single disc editions of that if you don't want to spend the full money on the box set. Okay, I also just picked up some what I call catalog albums that have been around for a long time, and both of these Angel. So after last week's previous release of the brand new Angel album, I just fell in love with that so much, and I finally wanted to pull out my older original 70s era Angel albums and found for the first time that I really enjoyed them. Whereas I was pretty much only a fan of the newer era stuff when they put out the reunion album Risen about 5 years back, I think. And now I'm really liking that sort of prog rock sound of the 70s style stuff that they did. And turns out I did not have this album here, which is On Earth as It Is in Heaven. So of course, with a Rock Candy Records reissue version of it, I was very happy to snap that up and get some new angel for me at least, and the one that I didn't have but also on Rock Candy Records, Live Without a Net. And while I know I say this all the time, not a big fan of live albums, I like these older 70s era albums, the ones that have that full-on crowd noise that I do think is just an overdub in there. I don't think that a lot of the crowd sounded that way per se. Not saying that they didn't, but I've heard things like with Kiss albums where you hear the original show, or UFO, the original show, versus you hear what the album is that they embellished. And I tend to think that's what a lot of these are. But I love that sort of even background noise of crowd noise that's there, as opposed to being able to hear that one idiot who whistles and yells out for a particular song or something. So I am enjoying that. Then I made a trip to one of my favorite record stores, Factory Records. I like to do this on Saturday nights. If I haven't had a lot of stuff that came in, and with only getting one new release this past week and being an older album, so no new studio material as part of that, I needed something a little more to sort of whet the appetite and have and enjoy over the weekend. So I went to Factory Records, and they're a place that will order a lot of record store day stuff and sometimes have cool things left over that other stores don't. And what I found this time was even cooler than that, because I actually got the 5 things that I wanted from Record Store Day, and I showed you those last week. But this store got in releases from Poland, the UK, and Japan. They might have gotten them in from other places too, because there's actually Record Store Day stuff that's only released in certain territories. Now, how they did it, I have no idea. But I found this, a Japanese Record Store Day release, Loudness, and their self-titled 1992 album, and this one here being a 2022 remix. So in Japan, they put out a 3 CD DVD box set for the album that includes that, but it's out of print, hard to come by, and here it was, the record, just single record of that remix. And I was able to listen to it on Apple Music, so I streamed it while I was in the store, and it was one of those albums I was never really able to get into because it was that sort of down-tuned, darker era sounding band, mix at the time, and it wasn't the 80s sounding Loudness that I love so much. But hearing this new remix, I absolutely fell in love with the album all of a sudden. So I had to go ahead and pick it up and add this to my Record Store Day purchases. But so glad that I was able to get that and have that as a last minute addition to Record Store Day. But adding this on CD, because I only knew of it through Record Store Day, I feel like I've added a couple cool more Record Store Day releases to my collection now. And then while being at Factory, of course, I went through the regular stock of stuff, and I was having a pretty slow night. When you go through like almost all of the bins and you're just not finding anything, and then you hit this one last tiny little area and you're like, what the heck, might as well just go through it. I'm here at the store, and I had 3 really cool finds. First one up, the debut solo album from John Wetton, which is called Caught in the Crossfire. I've never even seen this one before. It might not be hard to come by, but I've just never seen it. And I've got some of his solo albums and stuff like that, not this one here. But I flipped it over and I saw, of course, John Wetton playing on it, right? Then it says Simon Kirke on drums from Bad Company and Free. He's on here. Then we've got Martin Barre on lead guitar from Jethro Tull. So an album with John Wetton, Martin Barre, and Simon Kirke. I mean, come on. I was immediately amazed by this thing and love it. It's very much in the vein of what he would start doing with Asia. So if you're in the frame of that sort of stuff, you will like this. But that was a cool find. This one here, don't know how hard it is to find or whatnot, but saw the name, thought I'd give it a quick listen, and I fell in love with it immediately. It's become my favorite find of the weekend now. Anthony Phillips, the original guitar player for Genesis, and 1984 is the album. I think this came out in 81, but it's sort of a concept album on the book, 1984. Although when it's all instrumental, how much of a concept can it really be when you're talking about a literary work that is turned into music? So I don't know. I've seen that done. Rick Wakeman likes to do that a lot, but Anthony Phillips, and he made this one where the dominant instrument in here is the keyboard, whereas he was a guitar player, but he is a multi-instrumentalist. But I put this on and it is so good. 1980s keyboard laden instrumental, 4 tracks, very, very good. Absolutely love this, so much so I found a 3 CD edition of this and I've ordered that and I've got that on the way, but I'm enjoying that now. That was only $5.95, so for $6 I can enjoy that while I'm waiting on UK release of the 3 CD edition of it. And then this, a while back, several months back even, big into Pseudo Echo, a band that I had one album on, never really clicked with, and then all of a sudden fell in love, and I was searching and searching and searching, and the older stuff is so hard to come by, and then I found this, their debut album. So really excited to find this one here, a little more pricey than the $5.95 used records that I like from factory. This is $11.95, kind of double the price, but I'll totally take it. It does have a little bit of what looks like a torn area, and then somebody kind of stupidly tried to color it in with marker. But never seeing this album and going to so many different record stores asking for it, looking for it on eBay, and just not wanting to pay the astronomical prices for it, getting the debut album now and being able to enjoy it, I'm so glad that I was able to come across that. So, getting 4 records, 3 CDs, and a box set, that was my new haul, my new music finds from this past week. Very excited because it was just a nice broad selection of stuff from a lot of different genres, but a lot of different ways to hear things. CD, record, box set, so forth, archival, new, whatever. A lot of different cool things there. Hopefully you guys also got some new cool stuff for yourselves. Let me know what you got, and hopefully maybe you got some interest out of this here and something to go search out for yourself. So take care everyone, have a good one, and I'll talk to you very soon. Bye-bye.